What's going on, world? It's your boy, Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. And today I have a special guest. I have author Danii Oliver, and we're going to be talking all things, as you see, unschooled discoveries, something new, something different. I'm very curious. What really captured my attention as a person of color is the learning and unlearning we have to do sometimes growing up here in America. And so this project from its roots seems like it's very up my alley. And so I'm excited to have, as you see on the screen, I'm gonna shoot off some air horns because we're celebrating. We're getting crazy right now. I got Danii Oliver. Thank you so much for your time, Danii.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, Kia. It is an honor to be among the creatives that you've had on this show, and I'm so excited to talk to you about unschool discoveries and, like you said, the learning and unlearning that we have to do here in this country.
Yes, yes. So yeah, the shout out to Cozy Harris over there at KHPR that sent me this information about you. I've now been introduced. I actually read the first book through your site already, so I'm intrigued, curious where we're gonna go next with all this. If I feel like you have like a whole movement that you're trying to do that's a front with a podcast and everything. I love it. You love to see it. And let's start there. Where did Unschooled Discovery start from? I kind of feel like from having read the first few pages as well. You went from New York to Texas or something. I don't know if that is like rooted in your actual history, but like where did these ideas come from to put it down on paper and bring it to the masses?
Yeah, thank you for that. So, Unschool Discoveries absolutely is a tale that is both fiction and nonfiction. It is memoir, is imaginary for probably most of viewers out there who have never heard of unschooling. Like a life like that can exist, but then there is a whole subculture of homeschoolers in the world, especially here in the US, who it very much is nonfiction. It is our lifestyle. We don't go to school. We don't participate in the rat race. And we are living our best lives amongst everyone else. And you might not even know it. And like you mentioned, yeah, our story began in New York City, was born in New York, raised back and forth in the Caribbean. I'm an Arawak, Indigenous American. And my heritage and my schooling were two different things. Like what I was taught at home did not line up with what I was taught about who I was in school. And of course, that led to an identity crisis that I had to come to terms with through college and through my young adulthood. And when it came time to having my kids, I just said, you know what? Enough is enough. I don't want to deal with this confusion, this back and forth. I want my kids to know who they are, where they came from, and why that matters. And I have to say, from a self-confidence and a lack of insecurity perspective, I think unschooling has done really well for my children because they aren't dealing with that duality of who am I? Can I be a person in American society when I have a heritage elsewhere? And how do I figure out how do I function in a world that's either black or white? That's not something they have to deal with. And that is what Unschooled Discoveries is born out of, is helping mixed kids, indigenous kids, children who don't have lives where they have to go back to school and deal with bullies, helping them find themselves in the pages of literature and written entertainment.
Wow. Wow. Danii, you are speaking my truth right now. As a mixed kid growing up, military kid around the world. So it was hard to find my place. And then you learn one thing in history class, but then find out that's not the truth. And that's the European version, and so on and so forth. It's unreal. I can't imagine though the difficulty though, in what you're trying to do. I think it's absolutely amazing, but just it has to be difficult. I'm curious, when you decided to do this, just how are you laying that foundation, the format to reach? And I love that there's podcasts, and so I see that there's, again, which I think is also awesome to help with this mission. But what has it been like in collaborators? You have an amazing artist. I love the artwork on this. Shout out, I think Ivy Braithwaite is your artist.
Oh, Ivy is my daughter and co-author, and I did all the art.
Oh my gosh, it's a
Yeah.
family thing. I love it.
Yes.
Yes, let's
Yeah.
go. Shout out to Ivy. So family function, oh, family team. Then how is? So okay, you get inspired. You decide to do this. what were the steps? I guess I'm curious because this just seems like a very difficult mission to do. I adore it. I just can't imagine the weight of this, or is it just something you're still in process of?
I think first off, it's not difficult at all. It's not hard at all. And I think what makes most people think that the idea of homeschool or unschooling is difficult is that they look at their own school upbringing and they look at all the things that was involved in it, all the moving parts,
Hmm.
and they're like, I have to recreate school at home.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely what we don't do. Like
Okay.
we unschooling means to literally strip yourself of all the schoolishness. We actually have a process called deschooling where we
Mhm.
just look at ourselves and everything, all the programming that's within us that we didn't put there, that not even our parents put there, but school put there. School put the idea of ranking, grading, classism, sexism, boys line up here, girls line up there. This is what you can do. You have to work in school to become something in life. Like, what is your goal to get a job and only to get a job? Is all of these for do something for 45 minutes that could determine the rest of your life. And you never even get to fully dive into the thing that you need. And that is very stressful.
Yeah.
That is very difficult. And when you think about bringing that home, then yeah, it's going to seem difficult. But in all honesty, unschooling is as simple as waking up when your body's ready, celebrating the fact that you have woken up, taking time to witness the sky, taking time to feed yourself. If you have animals, taking time to feed them, taking the time to get your thoughts together, to plan your day. For my kids, it means that they dive into a book. They'll dive into their toys. They'll dive into TED Ed on YouTube or Mr. DeMayo on YouTube, and they'll dive into a science lesson that is, to me, out of this world because they can spend 4 hours doing a thing that they're passionate and interested in and can make mistakes and can run experiments and then later at the dinner table have conversations about it for weeks and weeks later because they're so interested in the topics in which they're learning and teaching themselves that it's all that they can think about. So it's absolutely not hard. It's about first turning away from the things outside that make you think you have to do something and then saying, what do I want to do? And how do I want to run my day and my life? And what do I want to learn today?
Wow. I, I That's crazy. But I think it's not crazy bad, crazy beautiful. I just I wish my daughter would just be as disciplined, or maybe it's getting her to be that disciplined, or maybe we're just socialized by America and the world, and I guess that's what I'm just trying. They're having that difficulty, obviously. I think that's something I think we all ideally would love to have, and do is just putting those steps forward to make it that a reality,
Hmm, hmm.
and figuring out how to do that. So this book line and podcasts through these sources, we're gonna unlearn, and you're gonna. Uh, but I guess I don't. I want to say this, but it's gonna teach us how to do that. But at the same time, I think the message is to unteach ourselves. I'm trying to find the path with this, but I think it's also the beauty of the path and finding it for yourself. Do you see where I'm having somewhat difficulty in trying to figure out how you're trying to do your mission? I want to highlight this in its special way, Danii.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that the path to it could be difficult because it's completely the opposite of what we've been told, right? We're told
Yeah.
that if you don't go to school, what's going to happen? You're going to go to jail. You're not going to be able to get a job. You'll be a nobody in life. Those are the things that we were taught. And so it's so ingrained in us that we've got to look productive, that we've always got to be doing something, that everything in our life has to lead toward the obtaining of money, right? And unschooling isn't that. We know that our kids want to learn. They really do. Do they want to sit down and read Shakespeare? No, that's boring, right? Do they
Yeah.
want to sit down and read for standardized tests and SATs? No, they don't want to read that. Do they want to read about, another white person doing a thing that seems amazing, but only white people can do? Like when I was growing up, anything fun that folks wanted to do was like, oh, that's white people stuff. That's white people stuff, right? And then when I grew up, I said, you know what? I've traveled the world. I've done all these things that people say is only for white people. Why can't other children growing up, mixed kids, kids from immigrants, kids who identify as people of color, why can't they believe that they can do all the things too? Why can't they climb a tree, go camping, go off-roading, sit down and stare at bugs all day long? Why can't they do that? And there's no real answer to that. And so the path to it is really an internal thing that parents got to look at and say, how can I strip away all the have tos, right? And get to what we want to? Because a lot of people fear that if you dive into what you want to do, that something bad is going to happen. And I guess for me, the pandemic was really like the moment I saw it fit to come out with this book and this message, because a lot of people were home with their kids, and some people didn't like what they were getting. They didn't like their kids. They didn't like the people who they were living life with. And the big reason for that is because we believe that we're supposed to have kids and then immediately give them off to a stranger to raise them. Right? The life cycle is birth, daycare, school.
Yeah.
So when do you really raise your kids? When do you really get to know them? When do they get to know themselves? And the unschooling way is saying, hey, if we just take our kids, take them in, look at them, listen to them, pay attention, you're going to experience a whole different kind of life. Yeah, I hear you when you say you wish your daughter had that discipline. Your daughter don't need discipline to be interested in what she's interested in. What she needs is time and space. And for a lot of kids who are in school, that might look like doing absolutely nothing for a long time until they've had time to process, until they've had time to think and had time to say, you know what? I feel like doing a thing right now. Daddy, I want to do X, Y, Z. Can you help me do that? And then you turning on as a parent and doing any and everything you can to make sure that they get the resources they need. That's what unschooling looks like.
Feel you on that. Actually, I hate to make myself, I think I've made myself look bad in regards to saying my child needs discipline, because I think we as people of color in our households, I think we do that. And I think you're kind of laying this foundation to show others that may not have that kind of upbringing to do so, and see how we conduct ourselves in that fashion, because that's number one with my wife and I. It was to create these opportunities for her. I said discipline because I think because she has the little internet thing, she'll go get sidetracked, and it's me wanting her to stay targeted. Don't get sidetracked off of TikTok. Well, let's focus. She's a dancer, so like let's focus on that. So with these books, you have the first volume out, out now, available as of March, recently. What is the pattern, I guess, of this rollout? Because I'm curious, and I'm ready to go on this journey with you, Danii, of how we're going to change mindsets and kind of just get people into. I think that's a perfect description for myself as well. I feel of what you're trying to do is, we do this in POC households, and it's now to just start letting everybody else know. There's the European learning that we need to have and to coexist with everyone else because they have the majority, right? And to live in this structure. But it's now time for us to do for our own, to change that future, if you will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I look at pop culture a lot when I get nervous about the future of my kids. And when you look at hip hop, right? Hip hop is like damn near 90% Caribbean created and fueled, right? Like Jay-Z, Biggie, Nicki, Cardi, these are all Caribbean people. These are my Arawak and Taino brothers and sisters who are pushing the message of life and love out into the world. They did not take the traditional route of schooling and believe that they needed to end up in debt in college, right? They simply sat back and said, how do I feel? What is life like for me? And sharing it. And that is how I'm doing my rollout, right? What is life like for me? How am I sharing it? How am I showcasing it? I'm not a rapper. I have a little poetry in me. And so that's how I'm doing the rollout with the books, is looking at how is life unfolding? How is life developing? When we go to the libraries and we look for books, there's a lot of, European characters, and it's hardly any POC characters, especially mixed characters. And then when you do find it, it's going to be a book that's like anti-racist this, or we had a bad history that, and those aren't fun, adventurous books. So I'm on a mission to create this category of books where it's not about back to school. It's about continuous learning. It's about having adventures that take you to new places. I wrote a book for another series called The Enchanted Tent. And every time the kids go in this tent, they go somewhere in the world that their dad is traveling.
Oh,
And they're
wow.
basically walking the streets, learning about culture, about food, about all the things that they can't experience just from home, that they have to go in real life and experience. And that's in tandem to this book, right? Where Unschool Discoveries is what's happening in their real life, where they're grounded and rooted. The first book is moving from New York to Texas. The next book is how do we cook? How do we make food for ourselves where there's no adults involved, right? It's going to be a scary oven. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make a mess. But in the end, at 5 years old, we're going to be able to feed ourselves, right? So
Yes.
that's what these books are going to be about. It's going to be about how kids learn for themselves, how they grow, how they develop, and how they eventually turn these learnings, these mistakes, the people that they make, the friends that they make into endeavors, into businesses, and create for themselves a life of entrepreneurship
Mm,
based on their interests, right? And then that is how they secure their life. That's how they secure their future. First and foremost, they know how to grow their own food, right? They know
mhm.
how to feed themselves. They know how to take care of themselves. But then what's next, right? That's how I plan to do the rollout. As they grow, as we have adventures, penning it and putting it out there. And the podcast is one way that we're able to get the books out faster because I don't have to do the writing and the illustration. It's right there in the podcast.
I love that. That actually is going to be part of my next question. So I love that the I'm old school. I think like you are, Danny. We love uh, tangible stuff, physical items to have in our hands. There's nothing like that, like records. I'm a record. I'm an LP. I'm a hip hop head too. So like I love my vinyl. I love the smell of the pages. But that isn't how a lot of this new generation is consuming. They're on like their paths, like I was telling you earlier with my daughter on TikTok. So using mediums of podcasts, what is some of the other planned avenues? Like, are you looking maybe into film, animation, other ways to get out maybe some lessons or certain stories that you want to tell with this type of uh, property?
Oh, absolutely. Animation and VR are where I'm looking to go with it.
Oh, VR
Um,
was on the tip of my tongue earlier because you're saying the tent thing. I love that because yeah, I've been getting totally into VR as of late, so I'm feeling that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Like, nerd out, please. I love this stuff. I could talk about all day long. But yeah, VR is one of the big things that I want to do with Unschool Discoveries. Just having that immersive experience, being able to dive into a space and explore everything around you, click on different objects, learn more about them, go on rabbit holes, learning about the different features. One of the reasons why I chose the children's book medium, not just for the physical aspect of it, but in reading children's books and comic books, I find myself and my kids just stopping on a page, right, and getting lost in every detail and wanting to know more about every detail. And that's honestly how my son runs his education. He's 5 years old. We start reading a book or looking at a video, and there's an object he doesn't know or a topic he doesn't understand. And then we're breaking out into conversations, into lectures, doing deep dives on YouTube, going into the encyclopedia. Like we're doing all this research to support the question of, what is a bleeding tree? How can trees bleed, right?
Mhm.
That was in our latest podcast episode, is talking about these things that you don't get to dive into in school and just really being able to dig your heels in. And we're really big comic book fans. And so any way that we can take the one medium and then shift it into another and another and another, I'm gonna explore it. I am a software engineer. I am an animator. I'm an illustrator. So these are things that I can do
Let's go.
myself. I don't have to sit back and wait for someone to tell me yes or no. I just need to write my storyboards and then take it from there. And as far as I'm concerned, this first book already is storyboard number one. And I can't wait to start animating the images. The way I illustrated the book, to me, I could see all the moving parts happening. So I had some issues with formatting because I really was illustrating it for animation first.
Oh,
And then I had to go back and reverse engineer it for print as
wow.
opposed to the screen. So that is definitely in the pipeline. Get enough volumes out and then go back and hit the animation work.
Oh, I'm so excited, Danii. I am so intrigued, and I love that you're so pro comic book. As a military kid, that was sad to say this. A lot of people are like, are you crazy? Or like, no, it's the truth. When you're a military kid, you know, you live everywhere for like 4 years, or you're getting restationed and traveling. I didn't have consistent long friends. So my friends were in the pages of comic books. Spider-Man, the X-Men became my buddies, especially being a person of color, the X-Men, mutants, that,
Yes.
were treated differently because of, our ethnicity and, because it was so mixed in that respect, but just being different, I connected. And whenever I felt alone, I could always refer to those comic books and be
Yeah.
with them and Storm and all of that. So I'm just so intrigued by this whole concept. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Um, Before we go, because I'm running on my time, but I would love for you to come back. I want to chat more as this develops. But I guess, what do you see with this? What do you think is your perfect vision with your Unschool Discovery books and pipeline of what would you like to see families taking from this in regards to, like, homeschooling, non and I guess the like of like what this rollout is to incorporate it into their educational lifestyle, if you will, and pattern for kids. Because I love this concept. I just, again, it's seeing that difficulty there in preparation with them getting with the outside world. Because, like, in one way, I know from the European learning that, and you as well, but now it's trying to transcend that and create something better and for the next generation. Again, I just, this task seems so difficult for me right now.
Yeah. Well, when I look at the world's richest people, the most successful people, they don't have the traditional schooling in their background. A lot of folks, maybe went to high school, but after that dropped out. A lot of people didn't go all the way through. I mean, even when you go to back to the oligarchs, they had what, an eighth grade education, and these
Hmm.
men were running the world. Um, because they had a gumption about them that they said, I have ideas and I'm going to give my ideas to the world. And they didn't sit in a school for teachers to break them down and beat that personality out them. So I definitely would love to come back and talk to you about the rollout. I would love to talk more about the entertainment of this. Um, what I see this going, my ultimate to answer your question is I want to see movie adaptations. I want to see a TV show that represents the life of children who are homeschoolers and unschoolers, because in the media it's stigmatized like they're weird or something's wrong with them or they don't socialize. My kids have adults have conversations with grown-ass people at the park, at the grocery store. They just went and got certified as fossil preparers. So they're officially paleontologists who can go on digs and find their own dinosaur bones
Let's
in
go.
Wyoming. So it's like there's so much available, but when we are stuck in that mindset of school is the only way,
Yeah.
then we lose all these opportunities. And there are people who are world schoolers, road schoolers, homeschoolers, unschoolers. There's so much more out there. And I just want for parents to know that, like, you can live a heart-centered life and a good life with your children. Because I'm pretty sure most people didn't have kids just to give them away. They just didn't know that there's another way.
Danii, I love this. I love this energy. I love that this is available, and I'm so curious on how this is going to roll out in the process. Yes, if we can come back and chat again, I would love to do that. I just wish you all the best.
Thank
This
you.
was such a pleasure. I just love that this is here. And we can start changing mindsets, because this is how we make history now and create
Yes.
change. And that is what I'm just the biggest proponent of. Everybody, Danii Oliver, Unschool Discoveries. I'll have the links in the description below. Please go check it out. Pick up the book and check out the podcast. Let's learn, and let's start creating this change, y'all. I love it. Danii, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Everybody, your boy Kuya P. Nerds rule the world.